Welcome to DowerChin.com. Today we're going to take a look at a new system. This is the Asus Transformer Mini, or the T102h. So, you can see from the box right here, it is a, well, it looks kind of like a Surface in a way. You get the keyboard and the tablet itself with a kickstand. So let's go open it up and see what is in the box. Alright, box opens up, all nice. And get it out of here. Oh, there we go. Flips up. Tablet itself here. Keyboard is actually already pre-installed on it. Let's see. One of the interesting things is that it was very unclear in the descriptions of the Microsoft Store whether it comes with a pen or not. And well, there's conclusive evidence that the pen does indeed come with it. So there it is right here. And you can tell it is a battery, looks like a battery operated pen. Oops, something fell out of there. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, this was probably something to keep the battery from discharging while it's in here, because actually there's this thing as well. So it kind of has a, I can't tell what kind it is. It was very ambiguous in the descriptions, but it's either going to be an active ES pen or it's going to be like a Surface pen. But I'm going to lean towards an active ES at this point. So we'll see. So it may be a Wacom over an N-Trig. We'll have to, well, power it up and find out. All right, got the power charger over here and micro USB charging cable. So let's unwrap this guy. Now supposedly over here is back here is the fingerprint sensor, so you can log in with a fingerprint, which is a nice interesting addition to the tablet. All right, so open this up. It's got a full keyboard with a touchpad over here, and it's very Surface-like. It's got the nice hinge over here. It actually is a multi-angle hinge. It doesn't lock or anything in different positions, so it actually is a flexible variable angle hinge, which is real nice. And then nice thing about this one as well is that it actually has a full-size USB 3 port over here that isn't used up for charging apparently. So it looks like we have a mini HDMI or micro HDMI and a micro USB there. Speakers on both sides. The keyboard itself has a built-in pen loop, it looks like, which is kind of a nice addition as well. Alright, so since I just got this, I'll turn this on, install some software on it, and we'll talk more about what this thing has to offer. Alright, so what is this little machine? So I finally have unboxed this Asus Transformer Mini, or the T102HA, and well, it is a very Surface-like computer. So if you look at this thing from the angle over here, it has a variable adjustable kickstand, which is actually quite nice. It's actually a well-made kickstand. It doesn't feel quite as nice as the Microsoft one, in my opinion, but it actually is very passable. And you can see that it is just like the Surface Pro series, and since there's a keyboard that it has. In fact, the keyboard does undock, so if you didn't want to carry it around and make it even lighter, it's very, very light without the keyboard. This thing is exceptionally light. It's small. There is no fans as far as I can tell. This docks right back in, sits in, and you're good to go again. All right, so let's talk about the guts of this machine here. So now obviously you see that unlike other machines like the Surface line that only comes with the pen, the keyboard does come with it, and it's a full-size keyboard. So it's keys are a little on the small side, but they actually feel decent. So it is the full layout. It actually has very similarities to like my good old Windows RT machine here. Now the one difference you can see if I can pull the keyboard off this guy is the keys are a lot larger on this device, but you can see from here the standard Surface Pro 1 and Pro 2 size is actually a little bit larger than this one. So this is actually smaller. Some people think this is okay, but I had some issues with this because there was no spacing. I was kind of overran things by accident. So having a bit of space in between actually I think leads to a better typing experience. So it's got the trackpad. It's actually a pretty decent feeling trackpad. It's actually pretty well made. So no major complaints here. Looking at the keyboard real quick, there's a felt material down here, so it's a little kind of feels like a nice feeling keyboard from the bottom here. Once again, it has a little pen loop on the side. Now, the interesting thing, the pen can't go all the way in. It's a very small loop, so it's actually really meant only for the clip to slip through and to be held onto. So it's one of those kind of better than nothing setups where, well, you can't hook this full thing in, but with the clip here, you're good to go. All right, let's go take a look at the guts of this thing. So I'll pull this up here, pull the Explorer up, and let's take a look at what is under the hood. So we've got the properties. We can see that this is a Windows 10 Home Edition, 64-bit. Now, that's kind of nice because a lot of the older systems like this are only 32-bit. And nowadays, most everything falls into the 64-bit category for a lot of programs. And having that extra 64-bit setup lets you use a full 4 GB of memory. So it has full 4 GB of memory for you to use. The SSD is kind of small. It's only 64 gigabytes. And after it's all said and done, you have about 57 or so gigabytes to kind of play with. All right, so the important thing to note here is the processor. The processor is an Intel Atom X5 Z8350. What does that mean? Well, it is a low-power CPU. The Atoms are made to be very low power consumption, so that's why you can get long battery life with it. The Asus claims you can get 11 hours of battery life. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't pushed it that far to see if I can actually get that far, but that's what they claim. And having the processor as an Atom processor kind of helps to get there. So the numbers over here, it's a 1.44 gigahertz processor. Well, okay, what does that even mean? I ran a Geekbench test just to kind of get a feel for what it's like, and the numbers that it came back with, if you look closely here, single core numbers came at 774. Okay, and multi-core at 1963. All right, well, that's great. So just remember those numbers for now. If you want to take a look at just an entire processor list here that Geekbench keeps, the highest end one over here, if we look at the top of this huge list, is like the latest Core i7 7700. The score is 5,555. So it is way higher than 774 for a single processor. Okay, fine. That's on the high end. So what does that even mean? Looking at other systems that are maybe closer to it. So I did a search on their setup for their Surface Pros in their CPU search, and I came up with these numbers here. So they have in their system, say, a Surface Pro 3, an i7. Okay, it's a 2-core i7. Even then, the numbers here for a single core is 2424 and 4603, and that's in comparison to 774 and 1963. So quite a stark difference. If I go down the list here to some of the older machines, like say the Surface Pro 2, an i5 version on this line here, even that guy is 3109 and 5611. So they're leaps and bounds ahead of what this machine processor-wise. So does that mean this is a terrible machine? No, not really. You have to kind of think about what you're going to do with it. Is it going to run Photoshop really well? Maybe, maybe not. It might be okay for some tasks, but if you're going to be really, really heavy processing-wise, it may not hold up as well, or it'll take a lot longer. So don't expect an i5 or i7 performance. It's actually closer to about a low-end i3. Okay, so just bear in mind that. All right, so we talked about that part of it. Let's talk about the nifty things that you want this for. Well, one thing is the pen. All right. So this is an interesting departure from some of the Asus tablets I've used before. Asus always had made tablets that used Wacom pens. All right, but this one actually is an N-Trig. So that's very interesting. So this actually uses the same pen tech that is in the Surface Pro 3 and the Surface Pro 4. All right. So to that matter, you can actually go and use a Surface Pro 4 pen like I have here on this device. So as you can see, if I were to kind of use this and minimize these things and launch a Sketchbook Pro over here and bring this up and close the warning down, I can draw on here, and this one works equally as well. So the one complaint I have with this pen is that I hate this tip. I don't know what it is. The tip they put in this thing, it just feels like I'm carving into the screen. I don't like the way it feels. It feels very stiff and hard, and it just resists me a lot more than it should. So as opposed to, say, the Surface Pro 4 pen, which actually has replaceable tips, I have one of the smaller tips here that actually allows for a nice smooth transition in. So, I actually prefer the Surface Pro 4 pen to this thing. But it's nice to know that you have options. So the one problem though with this pen setup is on the Surface Pro 3 and 4, there is a Surface program, or the Surface Hub, I believe they call it. You can go and actually tweak the settings for the pressure sensitivity on the pen on the Surface Pro 3 and 4. That is not available for this machine. So the software for this machine, there is no pen settings to change the pen pressure, which is kind of unfortunate. So if I were to look at if I were to dig around and look for the devices and look for the pen and ink settings here, there's not a whole lot of settings. I can set the visual effects, right-handedness or left-handedness. There's things for shortcuts, but there's no pressure settings. Just I can't find any. At least I haven't found any. So it's kind of disappointing because one of the nice things, if you want to draw, so everyone has a different preference for how hard they want to press on the screen to get a darker line. Okay, so it's just something that is not that's not in the books for this thing here. If I want to run something like OneNote, for example, if I get to go, come on, OneNote. So run that over here, for example. Pop that open, and I'll use the draw tool here. Oops, there we go. So you can see that it does work. The pen is pretty responsive overall. The N-Trigs are pretty decent pens. They don't have I don't think they have the finesse as a Wacom, but it was an interesting move for Asus, and I believe it might be just more of a cost savings thing. Microsoft probably gave them a good deal to use N-Trig as opposed to Wacom, which usually tends to make devices more expensive. So you can see that there's no way to vary the pressure, unfortunately, to make it behave. Well, this is not working right for me. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's not detecting my pressure. I don't know why. But let's just go back to Sketchbook. This does a better job of detecting it. So you can see that, for the most part, it does work just fine. Once again, the disappointing thing is that I cannot set the pressure to my liking. Then, of course, the nice thing is you have the buttons. You have two buttons up on top here. So the bottom button I can use as an erase. So I can go and erase things here. And then the top one I can use as a right click. So I can tap and right click and get options. Or if I'm on the desktop, I can right click and tap. I can hold this button down and tap to get the normal kind of context menu options to come up. So you have that capability. And now there's no eraser on top, as opposed to like the Surface Pro 4 pen has the eraser that you can use. So, and because of the N-Trig, for example, it does use the battery, so be prepared to have spare quad A's lying around. These do last a long time, though. I've not run into issues where these run out, so they do last a long time, which is a good thing. But that's something to consider. Unlike a Wacom, which does not have the battery, this one at some point will run down. If I get this, we just shut here. There we go. Okay, so that's a look at the pen. So it is nice to have the pen. It does come with it. It's not an extra thing, and you can use the Surface Pro 4 pens if you prefer that instead. Once again, the con is I cannot set the pressure or options that you can on a Surface Pro 3 or 4. All right, so that aside, let's take a look about the other things about this thing. Now, you can expand memory on this thing, so you can put a micro SD card in, which is real nice. I didn't put one in here, but you can do that. We can go and let's just go watch some movies on it and see what happens. Listen to the sound here. Where's Westworld? I thought Westworld was here somewhere. Over here someplace. Nope, I didn't want to go there. And all right, come on. There we go. Let's go Westworld. Let's pull up the starter episode here. Let's get the volume cranked up. Let's see. Yep, volume's cranked up. Hit play on here. I'll maximize the screen here. Come on. All right. Come on. Get to the end. I got the previews.
Sorry, I'm using my pizza hand. You could lose the accent. Do you know?
So there are speakers on both sides of this device, which allows the sound to really kind of come out, which is really good. The screen itself is pretty bright, which is it's got a really bright screen. I'm at maximum brightness right now. Yep. So even though this screen is not an HD screen, okay, so it is not an HD screen, so that's something for you to consider if you care about that, which may or may not be a big deal. Okay, so that's an example of the sound. All right, so let's close that down. So, once again, the screen's got some really nice vivid colors. If I look at the properties for the display settings, oops, not that. I want the display settings here, and I go to the advanced section here. The screen itself is only 1280 by 800, so it's not a really high-res display. It's not HD, which once again may not be a big issue for folks, because a lot of times screens this small being HD might be a little bit harder to read because Windows might scale them down too small, or some things don't fit right. So this does not have an HD display. Having said that, once again, though, the brightness of it is very good. The color contrast is quite nice. I don't have anything scientific to say for sure what the gamuts are, but it is a pretty nice display. It looks decent. Okay, but it is not HD. Okay, so all right, I want to wrap this up. Just I don't want to linger on this too much. Once again, other things we're going to talk about here is we've got the camera front. There's no back camera. There's only one camera in front for basically FaceTiming, or not FaceTiming. No, sorry, it's Apple. For Skyping or using Google Meetup, you can use that for it. Once again, it's nice in the fact that it has everything's all in here. It's got the keyboard. It's got the fingerprint sensor, so that if you close it up and you turn it back on again, you can basically unlock it with your finger. Back here, tap it, and I'm good to go again. So it's not as neat as, say, the Surface Book's Windows Hello, which uses an infrared camera to just look at the machine to unlock it. But having the fingerprint is a nice alternative, not having it at all. So, oops. All right, that's enough. So there you have it. A look at Asus Transformer Mini. It is a very interesting little device. It's pretty low cost. It is a very Surface Pro-like machine. It has a very low power CPU, but boasts a decent battery life because of the low powered nature of the CPU. It does have 4 gigabytes of memory, 64 gigabytes of storage with expandable storage options over here, right on top here. So you can put up to another 120 gigabytes in there with a micro SD card. Looking once again at ports, this is something very important as well. If you can see it here, we have a full-size full-size USB port, as well as headphone jack, a micro HDMI for going out to a dongle for a full-size HDMI to plug into a monitor or a projector, and your micro USB port, which is also used as the charging port. So we charge it over here. So it doesn't have as many limitations because it's got all these nice ports on it. So once again, it's got an N-Trig pen, and it is, it's actually a very unique little device. So if there's anything you haven't seen or want to see that I haven't shown, feel free to send me some feedback. I'll do what I can to reply and comply. Once again, thanks for watching, and subscribe to my channel.